if you want more calm, more strength, and more control over your life, there's one discipline you can't afford to ignore. Protect what is private. The Stoics guarded silence like a shield, not out of fear, but because they knew that a single careless detail can trade your focus for noise and your inner power for the opinions of strangers. In the next few minutes, you'll learn 4 things you must never expose, 3 ancient teachings from Stoicism, and a 4th that almost no one mentions. Yet it quietly separates the scattered from the truly unshakable. Before we begin, ask yourself, who has access to your inner world, your discipline, or your distractions? The Stoics taught that strength isn't measured by what you announce, but by what you can hold peacefully within yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Share those thoughts with the wrong audience, and suddenly the color shifts, painted by the noise of the crowd. Seneca warned that loose words weaken character. Epictetus reminded his students that true freedom begins with mastering your impulses, including the impulse to speak. There was a chapter in my life when I mistook full transparency for honesty. I thought that revealing everything made me genuine, even brave, but all it did was scatter me. Opinions pulled me in every direction, and reactions from others slowly bent my path. What I believed was connection was actually leakage, my energy diffused into noise. The Stoics would have smiled at my confusion, because to them, silence was never emptiness. It was power held in reserve. So here are 4 things Stoicism teaches us to protect if you want to preserve your peace, your clarity, and your inner strength. And the final one may reshape how you understand virtue itself. 1. Your deepest goals. Your most important goals lose power the moment you talk about them too early. When you reveal your ambitions before they're fully formed, you invite opinions, expectations, and noise. Not all interference comes from hostility. Sometimes it comes disguised as support. But distraction is distraction all the same. The Stoics understood that intention burns brightest when it's protected in silence and cools the moment it's exposed to applause. I once shared a project that meant everything to me. The encouragement felt good at first, warm and validating, but that warmth dimmed the fire inside me. I started imagining what people expected instead of focusing on what I needed to do. What began as a mission with purpose slowly transformed into a performance meant to impress. A few weeks later, the project faded away entirely. That's when I learned that attention often masquerades as motivation, but it steals the energy meant for achievement. The Stoics said, "Don't speak your philosophy. Live it." The same applies to your goals. Even modern psychology confirms that when you talk about your ambitions, your brain releases dopamine, the same reward you get from accomplishing them. Talking becomes a cheap substitute for doing. So keep your goals like embers under ash, quiet, focused, gathering heat. When the work is complete, your results will speak for you with a volume no announcement could ever match. Try this. Write your ambitions privately. Review them at dawn when the world is still and the mind is sharp. For the next 30 days, share nothing about your plans with anyone. Let silence be the fuel for your momentum. The less you say, the more you'll build. And the more you build, the less you'll ever need to speak. 2. Your struggles and weaknesses. Pain is something every human experiences, but mastery comes from how you carry that pain, not how often you talk about it. The Stoics never ignored suffering. They transformed it into strength. I once went through a season where everything unraveled at the same time. Work in chaos, relationships under strain, and sleep becoming a luxury. I thought speaking openly about the struggle would lighten the burden. And it did, but only temporarily. Because after a while, every conversation about my pain made the wound feel fresh again. Retelling a struggle is like picking at a scab that's finally trying to heal. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." Healing works the same way. You don't need an audience to validate your suffering or your recovery. Sharing your weaknesses with the whole world drains the very strength you need to rise above them. Find 1 or 2 people you trust completely. Speak honestly with them, then return to silence. Reflection heals. Repetition hurts. Marcus Aurelius faced his battles in the privacy of his journals, not for praise, not for sympathy, but for clarity. Those pages later became a timeless gift to humanity, yet he never intended anyone to read them. Maybe your turning point begins in the same way, in words written for your eyes alone. 3. Your personal life. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. In an age where oversharing is treated as normal, privacy becomes a rare superpower. The Stoics guarded their private lives because anything sacred loses its meaning when constantly explained to others. I learned this the hard way through heartbreak. Years ago, I shared too much about a relationship. Details, emotions, arguments that belonged only to 2 people. At first it felt like closeness, but eventually it became noise. Everyone had an opinion, and none of them actually lived my life. A conversation that should have belonged to 2 hearts slowly turned into a performance shaped by outside voices. What was once pure became tangled with expectations that were never ours. Seneca advised, "Withdraw into yourself as far as you can, not out of isolation, but to reclaim sovereignty over your own life." Your clarity returns when you stop letting the crowd speak louder than your own judgment. Try this. Before you share something personal, pause for 24 hours. Ask yourself, am I sharing this to connect, or am I sharing it to be seen? If the answer is the second, wait. Your personal life is like a flame. Too much oxygen will burn it out. Too little will suffocate it. Balance is found in quiet warmth. And remember, not everyone watching wants the best for you. Protect your circle. Protect your peace. In silence, love grows stronger roots. 4. Your good deeds and virtues. There's one final thing most people overlook: your good deeds. In a world obsessed with public approval, kindness is often performed for attention. But the Stoics taught that virtue doesn't need witnesses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you have done a good act, don't look for applause. It is enough to have done it." When you chase recognition for goodness, the act stops being pure. It becomes performance. I once helped a stranger quietly. It felt right. But later, I caught myself mentioning it to someone, not out of joy, but because I wanted to be seen as compassionate. That realization stung. I wasn't pursuing virtue. I was pursuing validation. So I made a rule for myself. Once a week, do something kind that no one will ever know about. Those hidden moments changed me far more than any public gesture. Try it. Help someone anonymously. Give without leaving your name. Defend someone when they're not around. Feel the freedom of goodness done in silence. True virtue doesn't boast. It simply exists. The less you talk about your goodness, the more genuine it becomes. Because when you protect what's private, you protect your power. Every unnecessary word saved becomes energy you can invest in building, enduring, and growing. The Stoics weren't silent out of fear. They were silent because they knew speech should follow mastery, not replace it. So reflect on this. Keep your goals private until they're rooted in action. Keep your struggles private until they harden into wisdom. Keep your personal life private so it can breathe without interference. And keep your good deeds private so your virtue remains untainted. Every act of restraint sharpens your peace. Every boundary you uphold creates space for your soul to breathe. Privacy is not hiding, it's focus. It's choosing to let your actions make the noise while your spirit stays still. Imagine your mind as a walled garden. Inside are the seeds of your best self: discipline, strength, patience. Share too early, and you open the gate to wind and noise. Guard the gate, and the garden grows strong enough to weather any storm. So guard your garden. Guard your silence. Guard your peace. Because once peace is lost to noise, rebuilding it takes time. And if you're ready to strengthen that peace every single day, stay connected to Epicta.